Believers who attract envy without trying are often being elevated quietly, not because they're flaunting success or positioning themselves for attention, but because God is moving them into places of favor, influence, and blessing that others notice before they do. And when divine promotion happens without human effort, it triggers something in people who are still fighting for what you're receiving freely. The envy isn't your fault. It's evidence that heaven is shifting things in your favor, while you're simply walking in obedience. You've felt it. The subtle shift in how certain people respond to you. They used to celebrate your wins. Now there's a pause before the congratulations. A hesitation. A tightness in their smile that wasn't there before. You haven't changed. You haven't become arrogant or distant. You're the same person, doing the same things, with the same heart. But something is different in how they see you. Opportunities are opening that you didn't chase. Doors are unlocking that you didn't knock on. Favor is showing up in rooms you didn't campaign to enter. And while you're grateful, confused, and maybe even uncomfortable with the attention, others are watching with something that feels like resentment. They're counting what you have, measuring what you're receiving, comparing their journey to yours, and concluding that something isn't fair. And you feel it, the weight of their gaze, the questions behind their questions, the way conversations shift when you share good news. So you've started hiding your blessings, downplaying your progress, apologizing for the grace on your life. You've learned to make yourself smaller so others feel comfortable. You celebrate quietly. You minimize publicly. You carry your elevation like a secret because you're tired of the tension your growth creates. But what if the envy isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong? What if it's confirmation that you're being positioned for something significant? What if the discomfort others feel in your presence is their spirit recognizing an anointing they can't access? A favor they haven't cultivated, a level of surrender they haven't been willing to embrace. Joseph's brothers hated him before he ever did anything to deserve it. He was 17. He was obedient. He was faithful. And his father loved him, gave him a coat that set him apart. And Joseph dreamed dreams that revealed a future his brothers couldn't stomach. They saw the favor, they saw the elevation, and they decided it had to be stopped. They didn't hate him because he was cruel. They hated him because he was chosen. And that choice was visible. It was undeniable. It was offensive to people who believed they deserved what Joseph was receiving. So they threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery, and told their father he was dead. They tried to kill the promise because they couldn't kill the favor. But here's what they didn't understand. You can't stop what God is doing by attacking the person he's doing it through. The pit didn't stop Joseph's promotion. It positioned him for it. The slavery didn't derail his destiny. It refined him for it. The prison didn't cancel his calling. It prepared him for the palace. Every act of envy, every moment of betrayal, every attempt to diminish him only moved him closer to the throne God had already prepared. And when Joseph finally stood before his brothers as the second most powerful man in Egypt, he didn't gloat. He didn't retaliate. He said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." The envy that tried to destroy him became the catalyst for the elevation that saved nations. David experienced the same thing. He was anointed king as a teenager, but he didn't campaign for the crown. He went back to the sheep. He served Saul faithfully. He killed Goliath not for fame, but because no one else would. And the moment the people started singing, "Saul has killed his thousands, but David his tens of thousands," everything changed. Saul's envy became murderous. He threw spears at David. He hunted him in the wilderness. He spent years trying to kill a man who had done nothing but serve him with integrity. And David ran, not because he was guilty, but because the anointing on his life was so threatening to someone who had lost theirs. That proximity became dangerous. David didn't defend himself. He didn't fight back. He didn't try to convince Saul that he wasn't a threat. He simply kept trusting God, kept honoring authority, even when authority was trying to destroy him, and waited for God to make room for the calling everyone else could already see. And when Saul finally fell, when the throne finally opened, David stepped into it with clean hands and a pure heart. The envy didn't stop his elevation. It confirmed that the elevation was real, was threatened by the right people, and was protected by the right God. If you're attracting envy, pay attention to what's happening beneath the surface. God is elevating you quietly. He's positioning you strategically. He's opening doors that others have been knocking on for years. And he's doing it without you having to fight, manipulate, or perform. That's offensive to people who believe blessing is earned through effort, favor is gained through politics, and promotion comes from being seen by the right people. But you're learning a different system. You're discovering that when God decides to move you, nothing can stop it. No opposition, no sabotage, no slander, no envy. You don't have to fight for what God has already assigned. You just have to stay faithful, stay humble, and keep walking forward while He handles everything else. The envy you're experiencing isn't random, it's targeted. The people who are threatened by your growth are often the people who are stuck in theirs. They're not mad at you, they're mad at what you represent. You represent the reality that God can elevate someone without their permission, that favor doesn't require consensus, that promotion doesn't need approval from the people who think they control access. And that reality is unbearable for anyone who has spent years trying to earn what you're receiving freely. So they watch, they critique, they question, they look for flaws, failures, disqualifications, anything that would explain why you have what they don't, anything that would justify the bitterness growing in their hearts. But here's the truth they don't want to face. Your elevation has nothing to do with them. It's not a commentary on their value. It's not proof that they're less than. It's simply evidence that God moves in His timing, distributes favor according to His purposes, and elevates people based on readiness, not worthiness. You didn't take anything from them. You're not blocking their blessing. You're not the reason they feel stuck. They're stuck because they're spending more energy resenting your progress than pursuing their own. They're stuck because they believe your success means their failure. They're stuck because they're measuring themselves by you instead of running their own race. And that's not your problem to fix. You can't shrink to make them comfortable. You can't apologize for the favor you didn't earn but God freely gave. You can't delay your obedience to soothe their insecurity. Your assignment is to steward what's been entrusted to you with humility, integrity, and gratitude, regardless of how others respond. Moses led a nation, but his own siblings envied him. Miriam and Aaron questioned his authority, criticized his decisions, and challenged his leadership. Not because Moses was doing anything wrong, but because they couldn't handle that God spoke to Moses in a way He didn't speak to them. Their envy was so offensive to God that Miriam was struck with leprosy until Moses interceded for her. Envy doesn't just hurt the person carrying it, it offends the God who distributes favor according to His wisdom. When people resent the blessing on your life, they're not just rejecting you, they're rejecting the sovereignty of the one who chose to bless you. So stop apologizing, stop hiding, stop minimizing the grace on your life to protect the feelings of people who should be celebrating with you. If they can't rejoice in your elevation, that's a reflection of their heart, not your humility. You are not responsible for managing their envy. You are responsible for stewarding your assignment with faithfulness. And here's what's happening that you can't see. While they're watching you with envy, God is watching them with concern. While they're counting your blessings, He's grieving their bitterness. While they're resenting your favor, He's waiting for them to turn their attention back to their own journey so He can move in their lives the way He's moving in yours. Their problem isn't you. Their problem is comparison. And comparison is a thief that will rob them of everything God has prepared for them if they don't release it. But that's their battle to fight, not yours. Keep walking, keep obeying, keep trusting. The elevation is real. The favor is intentional. The quiet promotion happening in your life is not an accident. It's divine strategy. And the envy it provokes is simply confirmation that heaven is moving on your behalf in ways that earth can't control, can't explain, and can't stop. You're being elevated quietly. And one day, the elevation will be undeniable. When that moment comes, the people who envied you in secret will have to decide. Will they finally celebrate what God is doing? Or will they walk away bitter that they spent years resenting a blessing they could have been building toward in their own lives? That's their choice, not yours. Your job is to keep your hands clean, your heart pure, and your focus forward. Let God handle the envy. Let Him protect the favor. Let Him vindicate the calling. You just keep walking in the assignment He gave you, knowing that what He's building in you is worth every ounce of opposition it attracts. The envy is temporary. The elevation is permanent. And the God who started this work in you will finish it, regardless of who likes it or not.